Alright, so here's our office, which is a big mess right now, but this is where I work. I work from home full time. Also, this is where I edit all of our YouTube videos, but we do have just a lot of stuff in here from the baby shower. Also, all the stuff that was in the closet, I pretty much just shoved it onto the other side of this room. We already renovated this once. We added the recessed lights, crown molding, spray texture everywhere, took out the carpet, replaced it with vinyl flooring, baseboards, trim, pretty much all the standard stuff. And so here's the closet, and the plan for this is actually going to be just a single cabinet that runs in the middle from bottom to maybe about that high, and the bottom half of that cabinet is going to be drawers, top half is just going to be shelves. Then we'll have hanging rods, top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right, and that's it. So really simple, shouldn't take a whole lot of wood or whatever material we end up using, so it should be pretty budget friendly. Dimensions of the cabinet, we're thinking just to have it come out as far as possible, almost to the outside of the closet. So it'll be about 20 inches, which I think ends just about there. So 20 inches deep. I'm not sure how tall this is, but it's gonna be just a little bit taller than this shelf here. Problem with having deep shelving like that is the higher you make this top shelf, the harder it would be to store things on top of it because of this thing right here. So it won't be very tall. I'm not sure how wide it will be yet, maybe 2 feet or less than 2 feet wide. And that's the plan. The only thing I'm still trying to figure out is what to do about the lighting. There's no light in here, and we could either do without the lighting, but I'm thinking maybe some LED strips on each shelf. Luckily for us, I do have a power outlet here on the other side of this closet, so I might tap into that to give me some power for the LED lights. I won't make a base this time because it is just going to be one cabinet in the middle, plus, you know, creating a base with 2x4s and plywood, it's gonna cost more money. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and start this thing. We ended up going with 3/4 inch MDF for the closet. It was about $53 per sheet, and I bought 2 sheets. Since we already decided on a 20-inch depth for the built-in, I had Home Depot cut each sheet to 20-inch strips. And from the 2 sheets, I ended up with 4 20-inch by 8-foot pieces with some leftovers to work with. I used my Craig track saw and circular saw and started by cutting 2 of the 8-foot pieces down to 72 inches, which is how tall we wanted the cabinet to be. I also cut 2 pieces to 20 inches by 20 inches to place on each end. I used pocket holes to fasten the cabinet together, basically 3 pocket holes on each side of the top and bottom pieces. I picked up these cheap right angle clamps from Harbor Freight, which I use for building drawers and cabinets. I'm using them to try and keep the cabinet square while I put in all the screws. Next, I put a shelf in the middle that will separate the drawers at the bottom from the shelving at the top. I also thought it would be good to have here to keep it from wobbling so much while we brought it into the closet. I kept measuring and using my square to make sure I put this thing on as square as I could. I worked on the long shelf that would go on the top next. The left wall of the closet has an angle to it, so I used this scrap piece of plywood to get the angle and the overall fit right. Then once this scrap piece fit good on the left side of the closet, I used it as a template to transfer the shape onto the MDF. We thought it would be easier to bring the top shelf into the closet first, and while holding it up, we'd slide the cabinet under it and just set the shelf on top. This worked out pretty good. I put a piece of MDF as support in the cabinet, screwing it onto the wall studs, then using pocket holes to fasten it to the cabinet. Next, I put in 3 shelves in the top cabinet. I used a scrap piece of wood as a spacer, again fastening things together with pocket hole screws. I then used some scrap pieces of wood I had laying around in the garage to put in more supports for the top shelf. I think these are 1x4 pieces of common board. And then once all those supports were in place, I used brad nails to secure the top shelf onto the support. I also used a few brad nails to secure the top shelf onto the cabinet itself. I had a bit of a gap in some areas between the cabinet and the wall, so I used some polyfoam in those areas to save on the amount of caulking I'd need to use. Next, I caulked all the seams, then used wood glue and brad nails to attach all the trim together. The trim I used here is 1x2 inch select pine. After installing all the trim, I came back with some wood filler to fill all the nail holes. So at this point, we're just about ready to start priming and painting. If you haven't noticed, we changed our minds with the shelves and ended up taking one out. I also took out the piece of the cabinet that was at the very top, and I did this to help conceal something I'll be adding later, something you'll see in the next video. Catch y'all in the next one.